My name is Miss Lindsay, and welcome to Teen Talk Tuesday. Now, for this Teen Talk, I will be reading Loveless by Oseman. And if that name sounds familiar, she is the author of the best-selling hit Heartstopper, which I highly recommend, and is a series on Netflix. Here we go. Part 1. Last chance. There were literally 3 separate couples sitting around the fire making out, like some sort of organized kissing orgy, and half of me was like, ew, and the other half was like, wow, I sure do wish that was me. To be fair, it's probably what I should have expected from our prom after party. I don't go to parties very often. I hadn't been aware this actually was the culture. I retreated from the fire pit and headed back towards Hattie Jorgensen's giant country home, holding up my prom dress in one hand so I didn't trip. And I dropped Pip a message. Georgia Ware. I could not approach the fire and retrieve the marshmallows because there were people kissing around it. Felipa Quintana. How could you betray and disappoint me like this, Georgia? Georgia Ware. Do you still love me, or is this the end? When I entered the kitchen and located Pip, she was leaning against a corner cupboard with a plastic cup full of wine in one hand and her phone in the other. Her tie was half tucked into her shirt pocket, her burgundy velvet blazer was now unbuttoned, and her short curls were fluffy and loose, no doubt due to all the dancing at prom. You okay? I asked. Might be a tad drunk, she said, her tortoiseshell glasses slipping down her nose. And I also do freaking love you. More than marshmallows? How could you ask me to make such a choice? I slung my arm around her shoulders and we leaned back together against the kitchen cupboards. It was almost midnight. Music was thumping from Hattie's living room, and the sound of our classmates chatting and laughing and shouting and screaming resonated from every corner of the building. There were 3 separate couples making out around the fire, I said, like in unison. Kinky, said Pip. I sort of wished I was one of them. She gave me a look. Ew. I just want to kiss someone, I said, which was odd because I wasn't even drunk. I was driving Pip and Jason home later. We can make out if you want. That wasn't what I had in mind. Well, Jason's been single for a few months now. I'm sure he'd be up for it. Shut up. I'm serious. I was serious. I really, really wanted to kiss someone. I wanted to feel a little bit of prom night magic. Tommy then, said Pip, raising her eyebrow and smiling evilly. Maybe it's time to confess. I'd only ever had a crush on one person. His name was Tommy. He was the hot boy of our school year, the one who could actually have been a model if he wanted. He was tall and skinny and conventionally attractive in a Timothée Chalamet sort of way, though I didn't really understand why everyone was in love with Timothée Chalamet. I had a theory that a lot of people's crushes were faked just to fit in. Tommy had been my crush ever since I was in year 7, and a girl had asked me, who do you think's the hottest boy in Truman? She showed me a photo of her phone of a group of the most popular year 7 boys at the boys' grammar over the road. And there was Tommy right in the middle. I could tell he was the most attractive one. I mean, he had hair like a boy band star and was dressed pretty fashionable. So I pointed and said him, and I guess that was that. Almost 7 years later, I'd never actually talked to Tommy. I never, ever really wanted to. Probably because I was shy. He was more of an abstract concept. He was hot, and he was my crush, and nothing was going to happen between us. And I was perfectly fine with that. I snorted at Pip. Obviously not, Tommy. Why not? You like him. The thought of actually following through on a crush made me feel extremely nervous. I just shrugged at Pip, and she dropped the discussion. Pip and I started to walk out of the kitchen, arms still slung around each other, and into the hallway of Hattie Jorgensen's fancy country home. People were slumped on the floor in the corridor in their prom dresses and tuxes, cups and food scattered around. 2 people were kissing on the stairs. I looked at them for a moment, unsure whether it was disgusting or whether it was the most romantic thing I'd ever seen. Probably the former. You know what I want, Pip said as we stumbled into Hattie's cupboard. conservatory and collapsed onto a couch. What? I said. I want someone to spontaneously perform a song to declare their love for me. What song? She gave this some thought. Your song, from Moulin Rouge, she sighed. Oh, God, I am sad, gay, and alone. Solid song choice, but not as attainable as a kiss. Pip rolled her eyes. If you want to kiss someone that much, just go talk to Tommy. You've liked him for 7 years. This is your last chance before you go to uni. She might have had a point. If it was going to be anyone, it was going to be Tommy. But the idea filled me with dread. I folded my arms. Maybe I could kiss a stranger instead. Screw off. I'm serious. No, you're not. You're not like that. You don't know what I'm like. Yes, I do, said Pip. I know you more than anyone. She was right. About knowing me and about me not being like that, and about tonight being my last chance to confess the crush I've had for 7 years, and the last chance to kiss someone while I was still a school kid, while I had a chance to feel the teenage dream excitement and youthful magic that everyone else seemed to have had a little taste of. It was my last chance to feel that. So maybe I would have had to bite the bullet and kiss Tommy after all. Romance. I loved romance. Always had. I loved Disney, especially the underappreciated masterpiece that is The Princess and the Frog. I loved fan fiction, even fanfics for characters I knew nothing about. But Draco Harry and Korra Asami were my comfort reads. I loved thinking about what my own wedding would be like. A barn wedding with autumn leaves and berries, fairy lights and candles. My dress, lacy and vintage looking. My soon-to-be spouse crying. My family crying. Me crying. Because I'm so happy. Just so happy that I have found the one. I just loved love. I knew it was sappy, but I wasn't a cynic. I was a dreamer, maybe, who liked to yearn and believed in the magic of love. Like the main guy from Moulin Rouge, who runs away to Paris to write stories about truth, freedom, beauty, and love. Even though he should probably be thinking about getting a job so he can actually afford to buy food. Yeah, definitely me. I probably got this from my family. The Wars believed in forever love. My parents were just as in love now as they were back in 1991, when my mom was a ballet teacher and my dad was in a band. I'm not even joking. They were literally the plot of Avril Lavigne's Skater Boy, but with a happy ending. Both sets of my grandparents are still together. My brother married his girlfriend when he was 22. None of my close relatives have been divorced. Even most of my other cousins had at least partners, if not whole families of their own. I hadn't ever been in a relationship. I hadn't even kissed anyone. Jason kissed Charisma from my history class on his Duke of Edinburgh expedition and dated a horrible girl called Amy for a few months until he realized she was a knob. Pip kissed Millie from the academy at a house party, and also Nicola from our youth theater group at the dress rehearsal for Dracula. Most people had a story like that, a silly kiss with someone they sort of had a crush on, or didn't really. And it didn't necessarily go anywhere. But that was part of being a teenager. Most people aged 18 have kissed someone. Most people aged 18 have had at least one crush, even if it's on a celebrity. At least half of everyone I knew had actually had sex. Although some of those people were probably lying. They were just referring to a really terrible time, or at least touching a boob. But it didn't bother me, because I knew my time would come. It did for everyone. You'll find someone eventually. That was what everyone said, and they were right. Teen romances only worked out in movies anyway. All I had to do was wait, and my big love story would come. I would find the one. We would fall in love, and I would get a happily ever after. So that was part 1, chapter 1 of Loveless. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.